hear the crystal raindrops fall on the window down the hall, and it becomes the morning dew. And darling, when the morning comes and I see the morning sun, I want to be the one with you, just the two of us. We can make it if we try, just the two of us.
Doğrudan Satış Derneği'nin 3. webinarına
Direct Sales Association is organizing this webinar, and I'd like to welcome you all. We have a video first.
Doğrudan Satış Derneği'nin 3. webinarına hepiniz
Direct Sales Association is organizing this third webinar. I'd like to welcome you all. Today we have very esteemed guests with us. I would like to introduce them very shortly. Ms. Ayşem Sargın, who is the president of YASED and also general director of Boeing Turkey, my dear friend. I'd like to welcome you. Hello, Professor Dr. Sharmin Ataran from Bryant University Marketing Department. She is with us and she is going to talk about social media. She will inform us how to use it better. While Mr. Ersun Ersip, who is the General Director of LR Halden Biri, the Director of Finance and Management, and also Ms. Gülben, who is the General Director of Huncalife. Welcome. Hello. Well, if you allow me, I'd like to start with Ayşem Sargın. Ayşem, I know you very well. You are my old friend. However, you are also a great name for Turkey because you represent all foreign investors in Turkey and conduct very close negotiations with the government and you support them. I know you very closely, but please introduce yourself shortly for the viewers. Well, of course, I'd like to thank to the association for their invitation for today's meeting, Mr. Samet, who is the vice president of the board of directors and as well my very old friend, as he said. So he has great work, and I'm very happy that our roads have passed in this seminar. I am the president of YASED for 2 years. It is International Investors Association. So it represents 85% of direct international investment in Turkey. For long years, we have been working with foreign companies. So I have to admit, I learned something new, about the companies, sectors are different. So it's a great experience for me because we as well work very closely with the government. We're trying to improve investment environment. And also I am the general manager of Boeing in the last 5 years. As you may know, Boeing is a plane airport company. While it is a very specific sector, airline sector. Well, even we met, I remember, with Samet at the Embassy of America. We worked actually in similar positions in different departments. Then I switched to private sector. I worked for BP and I worked for GE, and now I am in Boeing. Well, some people ask me what might be the common point of all these companies because they all work in different sectors. However, my comment is, well, we have a common expertise about Turkey and about the expectation of foreign investors. If we can really read it correctly and combine it correctly, then we can be successful. Maybe it's not an expertise of medical practices. However, it is actually a different segmentation of a know-how. It's really important to actually bring together all the indicators of different sectors. In case of Turkey, this is what I do and what Samet does. There are overlapping points for sure. I also have to say that thanks to your association, we learn a lot because NGOs matter. In business world, we face with many problems, and there are sometimes some news that we cannot really grow, but NGOs make our voice heard, and we can open really different channels if they are managed correctly. I think that these organizations are quite meaningful. And I also have to salute all the volunteers that are working in NGOs because they spend their free time for this beautiful purpose. I'd like to thank as well DST for their great work. So this is in a nutshell me. Thank you.
Çok teşekkür
Well,
ediyorum.
thank you very
Samet,
much,
Türkiye
Ayşem.
ekonomisi için çok önemli bir isimsiniz. Bugün
You are a great
sizin
name,
verdiğiniz
important name
açıklamalarınız
for Turkish
özellikle
economy. Thank you very
bizim için
much for
minnet ifade ediyor.
connecting to us in
Şimdi
our
isterseniz
broadcast.
doğrudan satış sektörü Türkiye'de
Direct sales
yaklaşık
sector
1,5 milyon kişiye
in
dokunuyor.
Turkey touches
Şimdiden
1.5 million people,
toplam satış hacmine
and it is sales volume is more than 3 million.
biraz
However,
tanıyalım.
our I think
Doğrudan satış olarak
strength and
neler
our
yapıyorsunuz?
maybe
Sizinle
powerful
birlikte
muscle
Türkiye
is that we are catching the
İstanbul'da
trends.
bir uluslararası yatırımcılar zirvesi
Very
organize ettik.
soon,
Siz de orada görevler
an
icra
international
etmiştiniz.
investors
Dünyada
summit
yatırım
was
dalgaları
organized, and you were there. So, what would you say about the worldwide trends, in the business world? Well, we think that we catch the trends. However, what's the situation in your side? Well, I wish we could have recorded a documentary about the summit. We invited international speakers so that they could have attended by reserving, their time and their calendar. However, the agenda changed a lot country-wise, and we wake up to something new every day. So we wanted to cancel it and then changed our minds. And lastly, we decided on actually the month of December, and American election played an important role for that. So we wanted to focus on investment only back then. And by the way, the outbreak of pandemic as well occurred back then, and many things have changed. So we wanted to organize it digitally afterwards. Digital conferences, yes, there are some difficulties in the digital environments. However, it actually has a lot of pros because it can bring some people that you normally you cannot maybe bring as a speaker to your conference in a digital environment, and many people actually participated to that conference. High level people participated, all our members enjoyed it. I remember that I sent you an invitation back then. I'm sure you all read or hear something about the revolution of industry. Now, actually, we are facing and experiencing a change and a transformation exactly like the industrial revolution. All the experts now are making some guesses, estimations about future, and of course, investment is the one dimension of it. for 2020 and for 2021 are described as the most challenging years for investment, according to the numbers of the UN. Actually, direct foreign investment will drop 40%, according to the UN reports, because no one can really foresee the future. Some sectors might go well, of course. For example, any sector that is related with the IT or digitalization, of course, are still profitable. But when we think of the traditional sectors, yeah, they have narrowed down. We don't know what will happen in the future, and as well, airlines and airport sector, it is quite actually in a pessimistic situation. It's like a total darkness, and huge companies are now ignoring new investment plans. So I think that we have to focus on how to pass this tunnel and be still competitive, afterwards. And on the other hand, of course, the rules of the competition has changed. Some companies cannot really provide some certain conditions, may not even survive. Efficiency and productivity are quite important in that regard. Supply chain is as well in the very center of it. We order merchandise and goods from different continents, but they were interrupted and some factories at the shutdown. And now we all wait for 2021 and as well 2022. It's really important to make a general evaluation, and it's really important to set targets for future. It is an important transformation. It might lay opportunities, but as well challenges. I think that today's topic is very important. When you tell me direct sales association, well, I'm not personally experienced on that, but anything else is what I do. It is part of my business and as well contains main principal trends. Entrepreneurship as well is part of it. Digitalization is another pillar, and impact investment is as well. All of them, all these pillars will establish the future and will impact your businesses in the future.
Çok mutlu olurum.
Well,
Şöyle,
thank you very much, Ayşem, for your comment.
jenerasyon insanlarız. Bizim dönemimizde
We are almost the same age. If you may remember,
memur olmak, kamuda çalışmak, kamu görevi
in the
icra
past,
etmek,
being a public servant or working for the government was considered quite important. You started working in a public institution for the first time, exactly like me. However, the expectations of Generation Z is quite different. People now know more of entrepreneurship, and they are more into innovation as well. Women entrepreneurship are the areas that young people or people in general prefer to work in. So I think that there are important generational differences and gaps, and you know very well other countries. I think that there's a great spirit of entrepreneurship in Turkey. What would you say if you are to compare Turkey with other countries? What would you say about Turkish innovation ecosystem? Well, Samet, I totally agree with you. Entrepreneurship, if we think from international companies' perspective, it has a growing impact, and this is what we have been observing in the last 5 years. The reason why is as such. In multinational companies, institutions are bulky mostly, and they are slow. From the segmentation of discovery until the final outcome used to take a lot of time, However, within time, these companies that are claiming that they are the best on their fields, and they were maybe defeated by the startups that might be considered as the small fishes, because startups just very easily and quickly just makes a product and launch it. Autonomous cars is an example of that. Well, we used to take some steps for the autonomous cars, but our research were quite slow. But then one day, a very, very small company, well, we purchased it, that used to work for the autonomous car. So now multinational big companies made peace with the idea of either making peace with the small startups or cooperating with them. Instead of competing with them, cooperating with them or merging with them is better. And we made peace with this idea. And right after that pandemic emerged. So now we are in such a situation that thousands of people are unemployed, and now we have actually in a situation that is very blur. We don't know how many workers we need in the factories, and as well, investment of the research and development is quite now restricted. Innovation and feature, well, these are now all blur, so all companies are just making plans as if they are ruling a country. But just look at the startups, and they also adapt to the changing conditions very easily and quickly. Just think as if you are at home, if there is an outage of electricity, you will just light a candle, right? So this shall be the case for the companies. If something happens, they need to adopt to the new condition. So I think that flexible working conditions and as well velocity, all of them are very well important, and we have to be really careful about that. And I think that culturally we are quite courageous. Turkish people are quite courageous. So they just start even a business without making detailed plans. They just take risks. Well, we take risk and we go forward. This is what we do. Direct sales is your work branch. And when I look at what you do, and when I look at the future, what I see is that our people, especially women, their personal relations are quite important. It is, I think, in our culture. Well, for example, in Turkey, people they don't really go to psychologists because they talk with each other. People talk with each other, That's why they are not in need of talking to a psychologist because they talk with each other. People, women, they exchange ideas or they share their problems. So, individualizing or making a topic personal is a part of this. You might have something in hand, and you might think how to adopt it, for your friends. And this is where the world is leading. I think people, by using digitalization, what they try to do is using as well artificial intelligence and learning about people's preferences so that they would know what type of a product that they will launch. And so if you could make a product tailor-made and personal, then it is an advantage. Of course, when you combine it with digital actually situation, you will access to communities that you couldn't even maybe dreamed of. So it is highly important, I believe, and it's a very exciting environment. Yes, Turkey is quite keen on that and can be successful, I believe. Well, great explanation, better than me explaining the direct sales, to be honest. So you have talked about, the personal contact is really important. This relationship, in between the communities and people. Yes, this is highly important. What makes us different is that our salespeople, they lead us. They actually know very well the needs of the consumers and just tell it and reflect it to us so well that that we can be successful. Because as you may know, liberalization is a part of that, and also There are board of directors, and these
So
board of
we
directors
direct
are set up,
sellers,
and the direct
we are a
salespeople are the actual
decision
decision-making
making of many
mechanisms.
organisms,
So
many
that's why
organizations, companies. So
companies.
company management, they very well know what consumers want, what they demand, and they adapt themselves accordingly really fast. And in our sector, Ayşem Hanım, there is this huge adaptation skills. Believe me, when this pandemic came out, we were all wondering what we would do and how we would deliver those products. We were concentrating on these things abruptly. However, in a really fast pace, our direct sellers, they adapted to this digital platform, social media, on Facebook, you name it, customer needs in order to understand it. Not only the customers, actually, the network that they established there, the fellowship, the business network that they establish for their own socializing, they use it very well. Of course, women are really important here because when it comes to direct sales, approximately 80% of them are women. So we are a kind of a timid family when it comes to direct sales, you know. So in our own management, I mean, even like in our companies, we say we've got like one woman and we are working with a lot of women in that respect. But our sellers, when it comes to our sellers, 80% are women. But when it comes to top management, not that many. So you are in the management, Ayşem Hanım, and you are married. So how did you keep up with all those challenges in your business life, your private life? Because in a male-dominated world, you were a women executive. Well, thank you very much. Of course, you say male domination, but I've got a presentation that ends up with it. A presentation that I only deliver to women. I use that, and it's sorry if this is a repetition, whether people here have heard before of it. However, when I was assigned, we've got the defense, not only aircraft, and my boss was going to introduce me to the organization. This is a Turkish woman, a Turkish lady. We appointed her, this and that. And you should be really delighted. And she received well education. He was praising me. I said, okay, I'm really satisfied. I was really flattered. I am a Turkish woman achieving this and that. However, the commander, yes, nodded his head, and then I said, probably he is going to say something good. He just grinned there a bit, and then they talked about other topics, and then just that we were about to leave, he turned up to me and he said, women, girl, are you going to do business development? Well, actually, throughout the conversation, they were actually speaking of more complicated topics. So, I mean, he understands what we were doing there, but he was just wondering what I was doing there as a woman. What I'm trying to say is that there is too much prejudice going on. Prejudice is because uh, you are a woman, yes, you are not seen as being deserving those positions, but I would like to congratulate the sector because 80% of the sales force is women. But what I would like to say is that coming to think of it, I mean, we are now entering into such an era, a period that in this digitalization, yes, we say yes, we attend remotely, we've got like high number of participants, this is brought in efficiency, but digitalization also going to bring along certain challenges, that's for sure. Like unemployment is going to come in, and then this goes the same for like machines, for instance, doing the jobs. And the whole world now is talking about global minimum wage. So in such a context, us like whether gender should have equal opportunities, we shouldn't be even discussing about those things. I mean, what is important is to have a word to say in future world with our skills and with our talents. So that is my call to all women here. I mean, please be open to learning, be open for adaptation to change new things. So let's be the best, so that when they like put up their eyebrows and they wonder what we are doing here in this business world, they get their own answer. Because I do believe that yes, we are going to be struggling the challenges, but we'll also into an era whereby we have to embrace the innovations. Work life, private life balance is really difficult. of course, it steals your time. I've got a son at age 16 now. During this pandemic, we worked at home. Like when you work at home, of course, normally he goes to school, I go off to work, and we do not see each other. I mean, he has got this idea that I'm working a lot, but he doesn't know the content of it. But now I spend the whole day looking into the screens, talking all the time. Of course, when it's to do with the foreign conversations, it goes on for hours on end. And he just recently said that you don't have any life. I mean, I don't want to draw that image in his eyes. I just ask what kind of a job he wants to do in the future. He says that he wants to do something design, but well, he says that he doesn't want to do what I am
İş değil,
doing
sıkıntı
now.
değil, kendinizce bir
Is it
şey.
something to be ashamed, the job that I'm doing? No, of course not. I mean, but that is what I hear from my son. This is to do with the Z generation, by the way. Their ideas, they're more individualistic, and they more give importance to their own priorities, and their digital adaptation naturally would deem them successful. But on the other hand, I feel pity because this pandemic is a really confusing period. They talk about the future jobs, what will they study, what will they do later on. They're in a huge complexity. I'm sure that they are going to be much more adaptive than us, that's for sure. As a woman, did I feel myself bad? Well, despite hearing all of those things, my high advice is that please pretend as if they do not exist, those prejudices, and try to be your best as long as you do that. I mean, work as much as you knock down all those prejudices, that criticism. I'm sure that in this sector you can internalize, congratulate your successes. This is such a realm, according to me. I congratulate you, by the way, because you are carrying the flag here. But please, there are also girls, do not forget them. They are behind us, they are taking after us. And so hopefully they will say us that we have actually paved the way for them. Hopefully this digital world is going to bring in prosperity for your own work as well, and innovation at the same time. Thank you very much, Ayşem Hanım. Thank you so much. You've spared your precious time with us. You worked together with me. We learned a lot from you, and it was really enjoyable, the conversation. Hopefully in another meeting we will come face to face. Hopefully we do that. Thank you so very much. And you are a Z generation mother. This is good. This is flexible working, and we are highly compatible with the Z generation. Yes, flexible working challenged our generation, not theirs actually. They are content with it. Yes, you are right. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, Mr. Samet. It was a great delight to see you once again, and thank you very much for all the successful work that you have done so far. Please get in touch with me whenever I can contribute. Thank you very much, Ayşem Hanım. Now, I would like to go to Professor Dr. Sharmin Attaran. Sharmin, can you hear us?
Bizi. Okay. Duyabiliyorsun. Süper. Um,
Yes, you can hear us. Superb. Sharmin Attari is from Byrant University marketing department. But can you just briefly introduce yourself? I know you very well. I know that you've got a fantastic book. I haven't been able to read it, but I mean, I've listened to the broadcast that you explain about this product. I'm going to do the first thing first. I'm going to be reading your book. Can you just introduce yourselves to us?
Shall I start? Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Oh,
Merhaba. Hello.
yes.
Merhaba. Hello. My name is Dr. Sharmin Attaran. I am a professor of marketing at Bryant University, and I teach courses in digital marketing and in social media. And I also train people to analyze, develop, and implement strategic digital marketing strategies, and to help them build brand awareness, engage in thoughtful conversations, and also drive sales. And so today I would like to provide a framework. It's a bit more of like a practical presentation that you can use with digital tools, right? To empower and to ignite your business online. And like Samet said, I recently published a guidebook called The Little Black Book of Social Media, and that's helping my clients kind of launch and grow their brands, specifically using social media. And so today I'm going to give you kind of a brief version of a framework that I use in the book. Next slide, please. Thank you. So before we get started on why and how we should use these digital tools, we first should kind of sit back and take an assessment of where we are today, right? I'm sure you, your friends, your family, your business, customers have all gone through very major changes over the last several months. And you've spent a lot of time adapting, adjusting, long lines at the grocery store, everyone's social distancing, masks, safety concerns, Zoom meetings, Zoom meetings for the kids, businesses are closing, layoffs, and it hasn't been easy. And for businesses and entrepreneurs, startups, the load has been very heavy. And I would say, especially for women, we still have all the expectations of our home life, caring for our families, our children, elderly. And at the same time, we have to find a way to balance work and also be productive and effective in what we do. But the good thing is that digital technologies have led to work becoming more flexible. And flexible work combined with this increased usage of digital technologies can really have a positive impact concerning our work-life balance. And so, next slide, please. With this time at home and what we're all going through comes a lot of opportunities, right? So people are spending more time online. People are spending more time socializing online, and people are spending more time online buying and in general, right? And in fact, digital is a key trigger for discovering new places to shop. Next slide. And so now is really that time to harness the power of digital tools to reach business goals. You can promote your mission, build brand awareness, right? Send traffic to your website, increase sales, focus on building relationships, monitor and check out what the competition is doing. And you can do all of that by creating and executing an online strategy using digital tools. Next slide, please. And so based on my research and the work that I do with clients, I find there's kind of four main problems that people have when they're creating or executing their online strategy. And all of these mistakes, they waste time, valuable time. And so the first one I see more often than I would like to see, and that's people don't have brand clarity or vision. Right? They don't have a strategy in place. They don't think about, what do I want from social media, from my marketing strategy? Their posts don't have purpose, and they have no foundation really to work from, and there's no clear goals. The next issue is it's off target, right? People don't know who they want to reach. And so there's no really direct effort to specify who your audience is. And you don't want to waste your time sending messages to an audience that doesn't care what you have to offer. And that can really kind of be frustrating for everyone that's involved. The other thing that I find is insufficient impact, right? The messaging, the communication, it doesn't have a value proposition, and the value really is not communicated. And the last point is this human element. We forget, right, that social media, these digital tools are managed by human beings on the other end. We are communicating with people. And all of these mistakes that I'm mentioning are turning into wasted time, wasted opportunity, damaging reputation with the people who follow you, or even those who are considering to follow you. And so you might ask, how would we recognize this, right? Well, if you're spending a lot of time and a lot of effort creating content and sending messages and nobody's engaging with it, and you're not seeing business results, then you're wasting time, right? And you want to get value out of the time that you're spending. I want you to get value out of the time that you're spending. So next slide, please. The idea here is that it's important to establish a brand, right? So created this acronym, PAVE, to help you kind of easily understand and remember some of the main points of the presentation, right? And so one is to really have this purpose, right? A solid foundation about your strengths, and then to target the appropriate audience, develop a value offering, and then design an engagement strategy. Because once you found your purpose, you can kind of move forward to connect and build these important one-on-one relationships. And then finding your audience, right? Whose problems will you help solve? And then attracting people to your site, to your products and services through helpful content. And then engaging them using conversational tools, email, chat, and providing value once they land, right, on those channels. And finally, you can convert them and sustain relationships with your audience by continuing to act as an empathetic advisor and an expert. Because remember, people buy from people, right? So you want to kind of establish yourself as a thought leader. You want to be resourceful, build relationships and enhance that trust and that credibility. Next slide, please. And so we'll start with purpose, right? So before you start any online strategy, you have to think of, why did I start my business in the first place? Why did I join this team in the first place? What is my mission? And how can we find this sweet spot, right? Where your talent, your experiences, and your passion, they kind of align, right? And then we can find that something unique that you have to offer. So you have to think back. You have to think back to your why, right? What's that reason you're doing what you're doing with your life and your business? Getting back to that inspiration, right? That thing that drives you to get up in the morning and drives you to do more and to make an impact. And you take a moment and you just think about that. And that is your authentic self. And that can be the foundation of your messaging. And you need to keep this in mind, because when you veer away from this, that's when you start wasting the time. Next slide, please. And so now that you've kind of identified your purpose, you're now starting to think about, okay, so whose problem can I solve, right? And think about that. Do you have an idea of who you think that is? Because it's really important, right, to kind of create a persona. And you're seeing that on the slide right now. It's a complete profile representing who you're going to be targeting. And you might wonder, like, where am I going to get this information and how do I create personas? Well, there's lots of different sources, and I could give a workshop just on that, right? I teach consumer behavior, and that's all we talk about is the people and their demographics and their psychographics, right? Their background, and then you start empathizing with your customer. What are their pain points? What are those key purchase drivers? Where are the places that they're looking for information? What type of content do they prefer? Blog posts, videos, social media, ebooks, right? And then it's also important to think about what is their role in making purchases, right? Are they the decision maker? Are they maybe just kind of influential? Right. And again, lots of ways that we could kind of create and find this data, but it's important to focus. Next slide, please. And so now that you've kind of thought about your audience, I know I'm going quickly, but I just want to get the main points across. It's time to think about, maybe where they're hanging out online and understand what they need, what they want to learn. And your visitors, they might have different levels of understanding on the best way for them to overcome their challenges and accomplish their goals. So you kind of have to understand their progression through the buyer's journey, right? And so I do workshops on like customer journey mapping, where we map kind of what's going on in awareness, right? When people are just kind of considering the options available to them to solve their problem, all the way through to the decision that your product, your service has the solution to their problem. And from there, you can start to find content that aligns with the needs of every visitor, no matter where they are, in identifying their roadblocks and then determining their solutions. So when you know your audience, you have insight into their motivations, their goals, their roadblocks, and their behavior. And this helps you create that content that's timely, it's aligned, and it's personalized. That's so important. And then you can have the goal of kind of providing the right information to the right person, the right time, via the right channel every single time. And that's really powerful, right? That's very strategic. And so you start to kind of gain trust by creating content which aligns with people. And it showcases your value. That's what you should be doing. And helping your visitors to accomplish goals, helping them solve problems. And you want to educate and inform with context, clarity, with creativity, so that you can build that trust and establish yourself as that thought leader, and help your visitors reach the conclusion that you're the thought leader as well, and that you're a resource that they can come to and turn to time and time again. Next slide, please. And so if you're wondering kind of, and these are more like actionable strategies for distributors, right? What kind of content can you provide, right? So really creating content that positions yourself as a professional, an informed thought leader, thinking about tying your story of why you became involved with the company, that builds sincerity, loyalty, and shows your passion for the business. Having pictures and videos of you speaking in front of groups, right? That demonstrates your role as a leader, right? As an influential person. And then thinking about sharing your goals or sharing your progress, right? And really kind of leading with example. Maybe even creating a tutorial, right? On how you use your products throughout the day, step by step of how you use it in the day. And then maybe even teaming up with members of your company to kind of promote each other across other groups and really building your network. Next slide, please. And so now that you've kind of decided your purpose, who you want to target and what you want to offer them, you have to think about how are you going to now engage with your audience, right? And I hear this all the time, right? My clients will say, I post regularly on social media. I spend all this time, but nobody's engaging with my content. Well, first of all, these channels, they're businesses, Facebook, whatever. So they want to show the most engaging content to keep people on their site. And we know based on the algorithm that not everyone that follows you is seeing your content. So to beat the algorithm, you have to have engaging content, or you have to pay to play, right? With ads. So how do you beat that? You beat it with engagement, right? That's the key. You want to signal to the platforms that your content is worth showing to more and more people. So to amplify, you want to amplify your value, and you can do that through engagement. And it can be as simple as liking and following more actively, commenting, messaging, but it can also be about asking the right questions and having call to actions, right? And really being part of a group or a community. And you kind of think about, okay, well, so who do I engage with, right? So your customers, your partners, your competitors, thinking about professional organizations, even local businesses. And you want to use this engagement through that customer journey that I just mentioned at the various digital touch points, right? Where your audience comes into contact with you online. And not just at the end, right? When you're asking for the sale. And so you want to come into contact with your audience in a meaningful way because you want to nurture their experience through this journey. Next slide, please. So here's a couple other really great ways to engage perhaps in direct selling, right? So when a distributor joins, announce it, and then tag them, because then they get a notification, right? That and they check their phone, they check in, and so it builds that engagement. You can post a call of information saying, hey, curious about what I do, listen in to this brief call tonight and message me to learn more. Simple. You can promote events post a picture with event flyers and say something like, hey, who do you know in Istanbul? My business is building there and we're looking for leaders. Message me to learn more. You can share the success stories, that testimonials, right? That provides validation, inspiration, and social proof that people need to want to join a community, right? And take action. And that nurtures the relationship and also helps to convert, right? And convince. That was my own timer for myself. Sorry. And so also to have a call to action, right? And really kind of telling people like, hey, this is what you should do, or this is how you can reach out to me, or hey, check out, reach back out and look at the products and services that I have to offer. Next slide, please. And so I know that was really quick, and I'm trying to go through like major frameworks, and we could spend hours on each portion, but I think now you kind of have some of the basics, right, to think about as you build and kind of shift your online strategy. It's really about building that right foundation, making sure your goal is to spend your time wisely and effectively by knowing your purpose, finding your audience, creating that value for your audience, and then engaging with them. And on the next slide, I always get asked, you know, what sort of tools should I be using? So here's some of the kind of social media tools that I use. Canva, Hootsuite, HubSpot can be used for kind of 360 digital marketing. Lots of really cool tools out there. A lot of them are free, or at least you get some free trials. So it helps you schedule your content, because nobody has time to sit there and write a post every day and do all these things, but having a strategy that is really effective is important, and then scheduling out so you don't waste your time. And on the next slide, just to show you the book that we came out with, my co-author and I, it's a step-by-step workbook of kind of actionable exercises to help entrepreneurs really build their brand on social media. And it's kind of a 30-day challenge. So I hope you consider accepting this challenge. And you can actually write in this book. It's really easy to follow and kind of go through the exercises. And we're actually launching a course that accompanies the book that has videos and tutorials and extra content. So if you visit busyprofs.com pre-registration, you can get on the list for the course, and there should be a discount if you go as well. So thank you. On the next slide is my contact information. If you'd like to reach out, you have any questions. I know I went quickly, but I really appreciate being here today, surrounded by such wonderful people. And I look forward to any questions you might have. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Attari. I think we need to have a separate session with you. I think that is obvious. We need to have a separate session with you. I learned a lot, even with a small presentation. I mean, we need to get a promise now that there will be one more session specifically.
Absolutely, I'd be happy to help.
Wonderful. So, but I got one question. You know,
Sure.
You define purpose, audience, value, and engagement. And there are two things that I think is the most difficult one. First one is the purpose. The second one is the value. You know, if you're a direct seller, you know, if you're like an environmentalist or protecting an animals and others, you can create that purpose easily. Or the value is over there, you know, protecting a child, protecting an animal, protecting an environment. Those are easy to create the purpose and the value. But if you're a seller, and if you want to sell something, you know, the purpose is to sell something. Right. How would you, you know, define your purpose and put it as a value?
Well, I mean, I always think of the example of someone who, you know, when you think about the different areas, so maybe they're talented and like they're really involved in like health and fitness, right? And their experiences that maybe they've held a couple of marketing roles in the past, right? But their value is that they really love to help people, right? And so you consider maybe then their sweet spot is a fitness coach or a life coach or selling like nutritional supplements. Right. So all of a sudden you're getting back to like, what is my product or service helping people with? And how does that align with kind of who I am and what I value? So you can really kind of pick apart any product or service, because at the end of the day, they're hopefully helping someone do something, whether it's to be healthier lifestyle, more beautiful, more efficient with their time. Maybe it's a technological tool that helps them efficiently, run their business. I mean, you can always find that core help that you can provide and problem that you can solve, and bring that back to kind of who you are and why that matters to you. So I could find your purpose. You bring me one, I'll find it for you.
Sounds perfect. Thank you very much, Dr. Ataran. I would like to take some time with our guests, and there will be some Q&A session, hopefully. Okay. Ersun Bey, isterseniz sizinden devam edelim. Hoş
If
geldiniz.
you like, we'll continue with you. Welcome once again.
Well, hello, Ersun. You have been working in the association for a long time. We are very happy to have you. I'd like to congratulate you for your new position. I have to start with two questions. Value and purposes were discussed. And how about your company? Could you please tell us, the value of your company? It is as well contribution to the society. Could you please elaborate a little bit on that? Well, thank you very much, Samet, for your kind introduction. And I'd like to thank you for this beautiful event. Value, when we think from our from the perspective of our community, it is actually is a quite a large definition because in our sector, when we think of all the companies that are working in my sector, yes, they contribute to the lives of people, well, physically, in a tangible manner and intangible manner that creates beauties in the lives of people. So, of course, there is a moral side of it, which means that you might improve self-confidence of people, and as well you might encourage people's and women's contribution into the work labor, and it brings happiness to the families of women. Please continue. Of course, employment is a part of it. Recently, we have observed that our sector is quite important for employment. During pandemic, direct sales sector has been quite successful for employment of women. It has been a pioneer because it is beyond actually creating an additional income to the family, but even it is the primary maybe income of many families. Because we are all now closed in our homes, and many employers at the shutdown or narrowed down their businesses, and our actually independent partners, business partners, by using their phones and their computers, they continued working, and they actually sustained their families, and they paid for their actually expenses. And we understand that this shall be supported for the name of our sector, and as well it is quite important for employment of women. Well, our company is really careful about this. We try to encourage actually female entrepreneurs. So in this new order of life, direct sales is of course one of the main pillars, but on the sales side, we would like to make our activities sustainable, and we really push for it, and we are using digital environments for this purpose. While there are a lot of restrictions because of a pandemic, but still we keep working with our independent business partners, and they do their best to keep work, and they use their personal devices for this. This is what they have done. Not only the companies, but also all our consultants and business partners. They carry out their business meetings in digital environments, and they as well meet with their own teams. Even if they cannot see each other physically, they have been in contact in this virtual world, and it has created actually a great opportunity. It is cost-wise actually efficient and productive. because many expenses were cut off because you carry out all the meetings in now virtual environment, and these are all for free almost. So that's why actually it somehow easen the lives of many entrepreneurs. And the world is now independent of time and space, which means that people would live in a sustainable world. So it is the case for the people such as me that's working in a company, or it is also the case for self-employed people, freelancers, because you have to somehow intervene in many business elements, and you're using and getting advantage of actually all these opportunities. Furthermore, I have to mention one thing. It is events. During the year, even especially in the beginning of the year, so we coordinate events, and also we have some certain calendars related to the financials of the company, and as well the marketing activities are conducted. Up until today, we used to do it, you know, before pandemic, and we used to gather in the event rooms and host people. But during 2020, even in the beginning of 2021, it is still possible to organize such events in online world. You know, we have hybrid events. So we just now have live broadcasts, and we organize a hybrid type of meetings. We go to the studios and connect to people from the studios. So we do our best, you know, we try to survive. Our independent business partners are really capable of following this trend because it's quite a cost-effective situation. Luckily, there is another thing that I have to mention. In our as well association, it is the case. We have our own hub, and we have internet service, and our business partners can connect to them, and as well they can just share their problems, and they can find solutions to their problems. We are using intranet, for example. So these are digital innovations. We have improved our infrastructure. This is our responsibility. This is what we have done, and we will keep investing in this segment. This is a ceaseless service that we try to give. And I think that this is a contribution to the sustainability of a company, and on the matter of employment, it's really important to let companies survive without any certain challenges. 2020 was the year that the world has started to transform, and we have experienced a lot of things: global warming, climate change. Were experienced at the peak levels, and as well the pandemics, disasters, natural disasters. These are the things that we don't want to even remember. We are still in this situation. And of course, it impacts industry in terms of supply and demand, because there are important, I believe, changes. And in the sector of energy now, there is a narrow down in demand, and impacts many companies, small size and middle sized companies, because you have to really manage your I think calendars very well, and you have to be proactive. You have to make correct decisions on the name of a company, but it is more and more difficult each day. So that's why even the biggest companies, the most strong companies, they're actually facing challenges to make their own plans for future. And I think that we have to remember that there are things that we cannot control as human being. We have to maybe stop and think about it, because sometimes the power of the capital cannot buy everything. It is a serious lesson, and it is a lesson that we have to learn. There are changing costs, you know, from fixed cost to the changing cost of we switch to, and as well flexible employment, full-time and part-time type of employments have been changing. Many things have changed, including outsource structures, which means that you can maybe offer equality of opportunities to different and faraway geographies or rural geographies. So this is all I was planning to say, Samet. But I want to set you free right away. I have questions for you. Dr. Attari just stopped, on a topic about social media, and she said that social media is just making us, more visible and more active. It is what we are seeking, maybe. I have two questions for you. Aren't you surprised, about the talent of adaptation of the direct sales people? Because, even using Zoom is difficult, but we have adopted very easily. It was a challenge for me, of course, at first, but direct sales people, somehow they are quite talented. They now work as the experts of Zoom and the experts of social media. Well, they look quite professional, and they also maybe work in the classification of resilient business. Do you agree with that? Well, I totally agree with you. When we think about events of my company, well, even our colleagues did not have the opportunity of helping out to our business partners, independent business partners, because these people that we are work with, they just became quite talented to organize their own meeting. Because there were social media posts, for example, just carrying the spirit of the pandemic. Well, they're very fast adapters of the new era. They are using our products, and as well they're using alternatives as well, and they make their best. So they are quite successful, I have to admit. They are fast adapters of this change. We just did regulation. We cannot even have the opportunity of training them. Okay, so 2020 as LR company, how was it for you? How about the situation of the company? Did you grow or just the opposite? What are your expectations for the coming year? Of course, there was a volatility of the demand, and there was a pressure on the incomes of households, and as well there was uncertainty in terms of the global economy, and it has impacted a microeconomy all over the world. And the geography that we are living in, of course, brings some extra uncertainties. However, I still see that in direct sales sector and as well in the multi-layer marketing, we have an opportunity curve, and this curve makes people more proactive and just let them turn into the realized income. Comparing to the heavy industry, and as well when we think of the production lines, comparing to them, people very quickly have adopted actually their way of working, and they have increased even their income. So yes, we had a process in terms of our expectation, and about 2021, I'm more optimistic, hopeful and optimist I am, because there are some improvements. People are more courageous now in terms of their spendings and their investment. Well, as we don't talk about really big budgets, of course, courage of people are limited to their own family budget, but still it looks courageous. And of course, it would create a total, so that it might bring a plus and as well an add value to the community. Well, thank you very much. Now let's continue with Gülben. Huncalife is quite an important partner for us. It is a local Turkish company. That's why we really attach importance to it. Hello, Gülben. Welcome. Well, I'd like to ask the same question to you. Huncalife's brand value and its objectives and its importance to women, and as well its relation with the flexible hours. Well, we already know you are part of the cosmetics, But what happened? Why did you switch to the new version? Do you want to create a new value because you have been in the wholesale business, but now you are in a new segment? What would you say about it? Well, first of all, I have to congratulate you for this great topic, and thank you very much for your invitation. We are very happy that our sector has an association, and thank you very much for creating value for our sector. We have professional directors and speakers among us, and what they said were really valuable. I won't be repeating what they said so that there wouldn't be a duplication. So I'd like to start, if you allow me. I am the general manager of Huncalife, and I was the general manager 5 years ago. Well, I changed my position back then, but now I have my role back. I know the structure very well, so we can talk about the past, and also we can talk about the new structure of the company. Huncalife, a Hunca company, is a company of 70 years, and it is a manufacturer, it is a producer. So what I am going to say today won't be like other speakers have talked, because we know that digital world is really important, and digital media was elaborated by Dr. Sharm, and as well digital targets and objectives as well were discussed by other professionals. Mr. Ersun made a reference to that. So now, let me maybe elaborate on this issue from the perspective of a manufacturing company, from a producing company. Because our expectations might be different, our experience might be different. Let me talk about what we have done and what we will do in the future. So, the world is changing, and we live it maybe differently because of a COVID, but digitalization initiated actually years ago, and it was combined with COVID afterwards. And of course, it facilitated the transformation. As Hunca company, as a producer, we are aware of our responsibility. So digitalization, technological infrastructure, these have been always important to us. It was part of our business before already. Let me talk about production processes very shortly, because I'm sure people who are watching would understand better what I'm talking about. I won't go back to very old times, but you know, still maybe a little bit old. So in the 18,000, the production was based on the vapor power, and then, the factory started serial production, and of course, consumers' habits have been changed and have been shaped accordingly. And now, even we passed the electronic era, and now we are in such an era that is maybe called digitalization, because this is directly related with efficacy. So it of course has its backgrounds, its reasons. Turkey is located on the western side of the world, and there is now a shift from west to east, east to west. So Turkey is part of it, and we have to integrate into all transformations. So as a local manufacturer in the last 70 years, we have been evolving, we have been changing. We are capable of doing so. When we look at two generations of our directors, they're quite capable of taking fast decisions, and they manage very well. We have a corporate culture. And of course, as a producer company, well, we call it Industry 4.0. This is a digital transformation, and we are part of it, and we like to be competitive in it. And this is what we do. We have targets for the coming 5 years. And when we look at them, we very clearly see maybe 80% of technology, which means that we will digitalize all our processes. So our services will be digital. So human muscle power is no longer actually part of the business life. Germany was the first country actually eliminating it. And well, is it a threat for the direct sales or economy? Well, yes, we can also talk about it afterwards. However, when we think about production, we have to transform, we have to get digitalized, we have to switch to Industry 4.0, because only then we can be competitive and we can work in international arena. It's really important to be competitive. It is a must for us. Technology brings a lot of advantages. I'll also talk about 10 years of experience of Huncalife. Huncalife company is a sales marketing company. Hunca Holding is a producing company. So these are two separate institutions, corporations. I'll talk about this structure in a while. Technology, of course, provides a lot of advantages. It makes us faster. We are now we are in a position of being time saving. We used to produce, for example, maybe 1 million items, but today it is more than that because there are more online sales. And we keep up with the technology, and of course, efficiency is part of it. What do I mean by saying efficiency? When you eliminate people out of the system, we have reduced the number of people, not 100%, of course. Machines replaced people, and it decreased costs. Is that right? Yes, we can talk about it. It may be even an advantage for the sales. Let's see. I'll make a comment on it later. Flexibility is very important for me. As you may know, even the smallest decisions are made based on the past. Or, as much as the past, we also care the future, even when we make small decisions in life. So when we say flexibility, we also understand a system that is data processing and that is managing the customer demands very well and making you to reach out to your targets. So these are the advantages coming from technology. And in 2021, of course, as Huncalife, we will use this data for our best purposes. We process it. Of course, this data will be used better in the future because in our infrastructure, our salespeople will start work very soon. Now we have less errors in production. Well, it's because that we have eliminated the human labor in production. Of course, we don't eliminate people totally, just we eliminate the muscle power. So, of course, it decreases and reduces the errors, and it actually decreases the costs. Digitalization and its impact on employment. Many people say that it is going to be an advantage. Employment would go up with digitalization. This is a claim supported by many people. I don't know. What I believe is that new professions would emerge and some professions that we know would go away. Well, for example, social media expert. There was not such a title or a position 10 years ago, but now we have professionals working as social media professionals. And creativity, strategy, know-how, capability, talent, creating team, working in a team. All these are the things that are actually are favored in a new business world. And when we think of gender equality in business life, when you eliminate actually muscle power, it makes women and men more equal. Can I talk? I'm not a feminist, but I'd like to underline the importance of the emotions of women because their senses are stronger than men. Well, we always do a positive, actually, positive discrimination against women. So, yes, after the elimination of the muscle power, of course, we also talk about the leadership and the teamwork. These are now the trends, and women are really amazing in these trends. They're very capable and talented. And I think that men would approve this. You know, in a household, even the mothers are managing everything, administrating the whole household. So it is really important for the advancement of each country also. Anyways, there are some still positions that we cannot leave to the machines, such as accounting, finance, sales, and also, of course, direct sales. These are the departments still that are managed by people. So we use conventional and traditional as well elements and ways. So these are the areas that we defend and be and work because human touch is really important and it is an inevitable part of direct sales. It is an important criteria. So world is getting digitalized and we are getting digitalized and it shows the importance of the direct sales. So even there are some firms, maybe in their work title they don't have the direct sales, but still they do it, and after a while they open a department with this name. It is actually a good news for us. We all work in the same sector and we support that. Direct sales. Well, you said that we are now in a sector which is composed by 80% women. So I don't think that women are lacking behind in direct sales. Just the contrary, they are the leaders. They are really establishing this sector. About is employment in commerce. By the way, I have to tell you, I studied in Germany and I prepared a thesis, and it was about women driving the car worse than men. That was my thesis. It was liked a lot, that thesis back then. I proposed. No, I said, women can drive better than men. However, maybe they did not have the same opportunities such as men. Either they used the cars of their husbands or their fathers or their brothers, and it creates a stress on women because it's not their own car. They were afraid of maybe making an accident. Maybe that's why they were a little bit clumsy maybe about driving a car. But of course, it has changed. There are really great female drivers. So it is maybe the same in trade life and commerce. You know, if women were given equal opportunities, maybe they would have been business traders, maybe even better than men. It is all about opportunities and how you distribute it. So, without investing in women, you cannot expect women to structure their own business, create their own company, and manage their company with their own culture. However, direct sales actually backs up for that. It is such an opportunity for a woman. Even without having any qualification. I'm not talking about personal qualification though. I'm talking about the educational level of people when I say qualification, and this is where actually this equality of opportunity starts. So we have people that are working in direct sales, but maybe some women are not educated in an expected level, and I'm very proud of it because they now have the equal opportunity, at least in work life, even if they did not have it in educational life. So in this transformation, yes, I have been talking about this transformation and evolution, and please stop me if I'm talking too much. And I believe that 2021, well, we started to set our target and strategy in the month of October, and we will celebrate our 10th anniversary in Huncalife in 2021. So we declared the year of 2021 technology year. So we have master plan which contains technology investments. Now we are transforming our own infrastructure. We do data processing. TCN DigiRobo is an artificial intelligence system, and it will be used by the direct sales people very soon, and they would have the opportunity of managing their own teams. So all the maybe data will be analyzed, and the sponsors and the members would be there. So it's just like an assistance. And of course, we have some other systems. I don't want to go into the details though. So we were ready for that change before. However, COVID somehow actually slowed down us. It would contribute into direct sales for sure, and it thrills me. And that's it.
Çok güzel söylediniz, özetlediniz. Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Şimdi soru cevap
Thank you
bölümüne.
very much. Now let's continue with questions and answers. We have 10 minutes left. So
Bölümüyle bitirelim istiyorum.
let's finish it with great questions. First question for Miss Ataran.
Olursa. So, Dr.
English
Ataran,
speaking.
I think Gülben made a great example. I mean, she mentioned that driving a car, females can be better for driving a car first. That is what she said. Do you drive or your husband drive at home?
Driving.
Okay. But her major point was driving was restricted because of the investment cost of the car. Okay, so the major barrier was the first purchase of the car. And so many times it's the father, it is the elder brother, or your husband is owning the budget. So that is why there is a startup cost. Okay, isn't it direct selling business also liberalizing the trade because there is an investment cost over there? And in the past, since who owns the money was the boys or the men's, so that is why for females it was very difficult to start up the business because of the startup cost. Do you think that direct selling also helping the liberalization of the trade, the first one, and the second one is the social media and the digital tools is also helping that target as well, because previously, you know, no startup can beat the big company's advertisement budget, isn't it? So how do you, if you have an idea, you know, how do you combat with those big chunk of money, big advertisement budget? I think social media and the digital tools are helping liberalization of that trade, especially for women as well. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a really kind of low barrier to
Evet,
enter.
kesinlikle katılıyorum. Özellikle piyasaya girme noktasında engeller vardı ve çok
That we can really efficiently and effectively target based on strategy, kind of like what I mentioned in my presentation, at a low cost. And we can pay to play with the big players. We can bid on keywords. I can, for free, see what companies are spending how much on what keywords and then go compete in that place if I want to. So it is a equalizing playing field based on having a real good strategy. And I think one of the ways that direct selling organizations can help their employees and distributors is to really kind of provide data, right? And provide training and help them to kind of be in the driver's seat, and really make the goals and the strategy, and then create the plan to move forward, and then be able to track. And the cool thing is that everything is provided to you, the data is provided in real time. So I don't have to put in this huge investment and then sit and wait to see if I made a mistake. I can course correct within milliseconds. And that is what's really powerful.
Okay. Another question is from our audiences. You know, since I think Gülben also mentioned that, you know, direct selling is a social touch business. You know, you have to touch, you have to feel, but now it is not a time of touch. So it is a time of distance. So how can our distributors, you know, can abolish that barrier? Because we used to touch, you know, how can they adapt to new era?
So I find a lot of different strategies work. A lot of times, you know, doing kind of live sessions, tutorials and videos showing other people using products, and also that social proof, so testimonials, having kind of real people sharing their stories. You know, we're used to now socializing online. This is what we do. And so we've almost accepted other ways of getting that proof and kind of convincing people. So I've seen a lot of engagement, more kind of one-on-one, where it's out of a group now into a direct message or a chat, where you're getting that kind of more one-on-one relationships. But I think it's really about kind of what I mentioned before, is nurturing along the way, building a relationship so that there's trust. So I don't have to touch, I believe. Because of what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, and that relationship that I've built.
Okay. Ersun Bey, ben şimdi size bir soru sormak istiyorum. Şimdi
I have a question for Ersun. You have financial background. You know the money very well. You know it very closely. What do you think? Well, would it be possible to maybe establish a company without big budgets? What would you think about the budgeting side of it? Well, I've never thought, of course, because I worked in the industry mostly, and I worked in insurance sector. When I think of insurance sector, there are similar dynamics because you are selling a risk, which is intangible. So it is directly related with the direct sales dynamics, very similar. If you establish an agency though, or if you create a startup, of course you have to invest to it financially. So our consultants and our business partners, of course, shall be supported with correct business plans. And I think that there's a great opportunity now. Yes, we cannot physically touch to one another, but I think that now there are serious opportunities. We can use digital platforms for growth of business. It is possible. I would say. If pandemic ends, would we go back to our old habits? Would you, for example, would you do so? Or would you continue to create interaction in your social media life? Well, as a finance guy, I would say no. But if I am to work on the field, I would say that just right away because I really miss the fields and field work. Well, Gülben, I have a question for you. As Huncalife, what type of events did you organize? How did you pass a pandemic? Because many companies organized concerts and they gathered for the dinners. She's muted.
Açtım hemen. Tabii 2000 Ekim ayında katıldım.
On October,
2020'nin Ekim ayı. Hani son 3 ayı
I remember
olan biri olarak
that
bir yıl neler yapılmış onu da hani dışarıdan gözlemleyen ve
well, I returned to the company on the last 3 months of the year. So I started working on October again. But still, I have to tell you, board of directors of Hunca Holding is quite capable of taking quick decisions. So that's why pandemic was really good for us because we are a producing company, which means that we have archives. I mean, raw material or packages. We have it, we have raw material, so that's why we took important actions and we have adapted to the pandemic. We actually supplied the needs of the time. We produced the needs with the types, the needs of the pandemic. Well, for example, we produced cologne, and it was a need. People used it a lot. So we had it as an alternative product. And we have created some alternative products. Maybe we sold less makeup products, but we sold eau de cologne more, and we sold more disinfectants and things like that. So, the question you asked to Ersun, the fast adaptation of the finance people. Well, I think that I can share my observation with you. Our members of direct sales. I've been in the sector for 20 years, 25 years, maybe. I don't show my age, but anyways. So there are common features of entrepreneurship. One of them is that they are fast adopters and they are open to new things. This is something common that they have. I think no other sector adapted that well to the direct sales. Even understanding Zoom, was difficult for me, but our direct sales people just acted as an expert already. So, of course, we managed the whole process digitally, remotely. We organized meetings remotely and digitally. We organized meetings in Zoom. There are leaders that are successful in our company. We have to actually appreciate them and their efforts. So 2 weeks later, Huncalife 2020 career titles are to be celebrated actually. We will publish it. It is a ceremony. Well, this is a surprise for our employees, though. So we will have a celebration ceremony to appreciate careers of our employees. We organize such ones, we do such things. Well, of course, we are not in the same physical environment, but we still keep communicating, and this is somehow satisfying us. communication is really important. You do it one way or another way. We see each other. This is important. We are not only using phone, because just only talking on the phone wouldn't have been enough. But we can see each other. We can use different tools and platforms, and it is advantages. It is now better. We produced new products. We never stopped our production. Sometimes, of course, because of COVID incidences, some of our suppliers or subcontractors were shut down during the quarantine. So we have very fastly adopted into the new situation, and we never stopped our communication with the field. We have transformed everything. We did everything, but maybe a little different. We organized everything, meetings, ceremonies. Interesting experience, I would say. Well, as a person, as a woman myself, who loves touching, I really miss being on the field and as well hugging my friends.
Okay, let's make a final tour. The last words. What will be your message to our direct sellers? Do they need to have a high hope for 2021? What would you say?
Kim başlasın?
Yeah, let's start with Sharmin. If you can start.
I do think that everyone should have high hopes. I think we've had we've obtained perspective in this last year on many fronts, and we are also really if you can really focus on kind of creating strategy and being really specific about your goals, and train yourself. All of these tools, all of this data can help you in your business, and it's really the time to kind of harness that power that we have at our fingertips and really join and prosper in a community where we're all just looking forward to a better year. So
Ersun Bey.
İnsanlık tarihinde çok zor dönemler var.
Well, there have been important challenges in human history. It was a milestone year, but our geography is very used to challenges, and we are now in a geography never loses hopes. I don't think that there is a reason for losing the hope, and we understand the importance of health. If we care for it, it would help us to give us future hopes. Gülben, your last remarks? Yes, that's true. It was a really difficult year. Maybe we will face with worse. So that's why maybe I can share my message of my own sector, We are doing such a job that when we think of the nature of our business, we now understand of the importance of touching to one another or being together. Hopefully, we will not experience anything like that in the future. Hopefully, there will come times that we will have the opportunity of touching one another, being in a physical environment. I just remember my husband. My husband, unfortunately, is now in intensive care unit because of COVID for 50 days. I don't have the opportunity of touching him for 50 days, and it is really difficult to not to touch someone you love. You cannot touch. So this is an experience. I think this is just a life lesson for me. Well, thank you very much again. Well, hopefully he will recover soon and he will get out of the intensive care unit very soon. Well, I'd like to thank all our participants individually. Thank you very much for your contribution. It was a really great meeting, I think. Thank you very much as well to our viewers for listening to us and for being with us. So we will share it and as well publish it very soon. we will organize new meetings. So we will make a special as well session with her afterwards, and we will hear more about social media. Thank you. This is the end of the broadcast.